It's from Broward Design Center. My buddy Sky has all kinds of unique
Cool.
things from all over the world there. He travels the world and finds all these unique things. So
Looks heavy.
it's extremely heavy. Yeah, like two dudes walked in here and told me to move out of the way and where do I want it and put it all together and dropped it right there to like
Wouldn't want to move it again.
that's what they said. They're like, you sure you want it here? I'm like, yeah. They're like, because you don't want to move this around. And I'm like, all right, no, it looks good. So if we do end up moving out of here, this is going to be the one part that I'm going to dread. But
looks like it'll fit. Well, actually, it won't fit through the door.
no, you got to take the bottom off.
Yeah,
yeah,
that'll make it lighter too.
yeah. So it's all like screwed in, like not like IKEA perfectly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like screwed into the wood. So yeah, it's
Cool.
just a matter of reconstruction. So thanks for coming
Yeah, you're welcome.
to visit the
Stoked to
gallery
be
and
on
hang
here.
out and drink some rum with me.
Yeah.
And
Glad I could get some time down here.
yeah, so
I should have visited you before, but
Well, I mean,
we have busy lives, right?
we're here now, right?
That's
yeah,
right.
exactly. We have busy lives. We were just talking about it at the bar, but which I want to get into that in a little bit. But I want to introduce you officially. So Ben Hicks is here with me, master photographer, cinematographer, a fellow marine life artist, I will say. And I'm honored to have you on. I've admired your work for years.
I appreciate
and
that.
It's just incredible stuff. So
Goes both ways,
no, I appreciate that, man.
Same thing.
Anyone listening or watching to us, head on over to @BenJHicks right now and check out the work while you're listening to this, and give this episode a little bit of context, because I think there is a visual aspect of it too. So cheers.
Oh, how do you do this? I don't think I've drank.
So you just pull it back like that.
There's a technique.
That's it. There is a technique. You just pull it back and
Right back in there.
don't try to like slide it. Don't try to slide the cup around your mic.
Maybe you need a straw next time.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a bad idea. Just use
But not a plastic straw.
No, just plastic cups, apparently.
I'm gonna work on that.
We're responsible with them.
I'm gonna review this whole section right here.
You should.
You got plastic cups.
Yeah.
Wood
Wood from Costa Rica.
That's a good table. That's right.
It's reclaimed,
Yes,
right?
for sure.
So that's your
No,
intel.
I'm stoked to be on here. Same thing. I admire what you do, and I think it's great. The concept, connected by water, what it says. That's an awesome idea.
Yeah, thanks. And this is it too, because a lot of people think that we're just a fishing show, and just because that's really a heavy subject matter for us, and that's main clientele, or fishermen and big boats and sport fish and stuff like that. But really, the whole point of naming the show "Connected by Water" is to just give it a broader sense of appeal to a more cultivated audience, and just be more than just a fishing show, and we want to go beyond that. And quite frankly, most of the times when I do have legendary anglers and stuff on the show, 75% of the time we're not even talking about fishing, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want it to be oh, how do you tie this knot, or how do you you know what I mean? There's enough shows about that. We wanted to bring the culture into it, and that's why I'm glad you're here. So
Cool.
Speaking of bringing the culture into it, we want to announce our do-gooder of the week, our Starbright do-gooder of the week. And so, full disclosure to everyone listening and watching, we didn't have one this week. I forgot to get one from Corey. And so we said, Ben, you got a do-gooder, and you did. So, and I think that really is going to spark an idea that I think I might have the guests bring in their own do-gooder. So who's our do-gooder of the week?
So I walked in here, and you were like, you explained the whole concept. I think that's awesome. And Starbright, right, is going to kind of hook them up.
Yep.
I think the hardest thing with that for me is there's so many do-gooders, right? Especially on the water community.
Yep.
Right comes off to my mind, since it's so fresh, is a lot of things going on in our state with Hurricane Ian. Just smacked everybody on the West Coast, and some people over here, obviously, as well, on the north side.
On the north side, yeah.
Yeah. My good friends, Jacob, Shields, and Benny, who run the Compound Board Shop, and also Compound Fly Fishing and Compound Scape Shop over in Sarasota, Florida. And, they had their own personal issues with their only property getting destroyed and some stuff in Sarasota, and they were hit the ground running to support others down south in Fort Myers, working with Captains for Clean Water and getting supplies on the boats and running them right down there. It seemed like the day after the storm. They were on top of it. And, they come off, first thing in my tongue were those guys. They are always in support of the community around them and pretty selfless. They're huge fishermen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Love fly fishing, love to serve, love to support the environment and the things that they love. So I would elect them this week.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
They're good people. So
very cool.
Compound board shop crew, I would say. Yep.
I appreciate that, Benny. We are going to send them a bucket full of goodies.
Cool.
Right? And then we got the salt off and the boat wash and the reggae sponge and all the great things and the degreaser and all that. So congrats to Compound.
Yeah, make them clean their boat.
Yeah, and we wish them the best of luck in everything that they're going through.
They are.
I only want to say in this next couple of weeks because it's probably going to be a hell of a lot longer than that. Like what they're dealing with is just absolutely horrendous. And to segue from that, I do want to bring up the campaign that we have been doing, the very successful campaign that we have been doing here. We did this campaign, our Stronger Together campaign, during Hurricane Dorian. And in a week's time, we raised $40,000 in shirt sales in 1 week. And that we donated to the people of Abaco, and we did that through the Greater Miami Billfish Tournament, which is set up as a 501c3, and that channeled through the Church of God in Abaco. That's where the money went. We know that the $40,000 that we raised went directly towards buying lumber to build new homes in Abaco.
That's awesome.
When we were searching, we're doing it now again. We're doing a Stronger Together campaign for Fort Myers, and we're including in Tarpon, so it's kind of, for that area.
Relative, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's, as we air today, we've been doing the campaign for 4 days, I think. When this airs, it would have gone on for longer. But right off the bat, we're experiencing that it's very successful, and I do want to make an announcement on that we have named a beneficiary. We didn't have one when we started it because I didn't want to knee-jerk on that and say, okay, well, who are we going to give this money to? I didn't want to just say, Florida Disaster Fund, and just have all the money get eaten up by a corporate conglomerate and it doesn't get used to do what we want the money to do. We want it to go right into the mouths of the people, whether it be water, whether it be food, or whether it be just immediate things that they need now. We don't think that the money that we're going to raise is necessarily going to go towards rebuilding homes. I think the Florida Disaster Fund, everything is going to take care of that for people. We want to help them now. So we wanted to find an organization that was indigenous and boots on the ground, and we feel that Captains for Clean Water is that organization, and that's where we're going to be giving our money to. And we have reached out to them, contacted them, and we're going to be working with them to make sure that everyone gets what they need through the use of this money. And our partners, Papa's Pilar Rum, sponsor this show, and as a brand ambassador to them and part of the Papa's Pilar family, I'm very proud to say that whatever we raise during the entirety of this campaign, once we write our final check, our final donation amount, they're going to match 10% of that up to $5,000.
Wow.
So we're very happy to have them behind it as well. So we raised 40 for Dorian. Our goal is 50 for this campaign. So if we can write a check for $50,000, I'll be very excited. We'd love to write one for more than that, if possible. I don't know how this thing's going to go once Captains for Clean Water and Papa's Pilar get involved with promoting it. But we're very excited to be able to do this.
Cool.
Number one, and number two, just we're hoping we can help people.
Yeah,
that's
great.
That's what it all comes down to. So, so if you are listening, watching. The campaign will still be going on once this aired. So head on over to my social media at Dennis Friel Art, at Connected by Water, and we have links to the shirt in the bio there. And that's how you can help.
Cool.
And that money is going to go to Captains for Clean Water. So
it's like a long sleeve fishing shirt, right?
It's a long sleeve,
sub.
Yep, sub performance fishing shirt. And it's going to have "We Are All Connected by Water" on the front. It's going to have our Stronger Together message on the back with the tarpon and the flag of Florida, and the Papa's Pilar logo and the Captains for Clean Water logo. It's going to say "We're all connected by water" on the back as well. So yeah, so we're excited about it. So doing good, okay, is probably the perfect segue to talk to you about, because you're someone that does good in the community. I know you go to a lot of schools, you do a lot of speaking to children about the environment and about being good stewards of our oceans and our waterways and just our planet in general. And you work with the Gumbo Limbo Research Center and different places like that. So let me get a little bit inside your head when it comes to the intrinsic value of how it makes you feel, number one, why you do it, and ways that people that don't necessarily do this, it's not in their DNA, can make it a part of their DNA.
Yeah, it was definitely enlightening to me going into the art world as a photographer and realizing that I could connect with people through my images. And realizing that the connection a lot of times was the sensitivity of the animals that I was shooting, right? Sea turtles, we all know, have issues with the environment and being able to survive and the impact of humans and so on. And the pictures of turtles that I started photographing back in 2008 really touched upon people, not only as artwork, but they were like, my gosh, that will that even survive, that turtle, and so on. And so immediately I realized that I could use my art as a platform for environmental awareness. And that kind of has, evolved more than I could imagine, right? And I'm super grateful for that. As an artist, it's amazing to be able to make a living, but also amazing to be able to give back in what I do directly. And so I've just tried to use my work in every direction to give back, to donate it towards, resources that can reach a broader audience than me even, and so on. So yeah, any opportunity I get to try to do that in a variety of platforms, whether that be in person at schools or, talking at different institutions or whatever it might be. Even during COVID, I was doing Zoom calls with classrooms from Europe to small Australia to you name it. It's a cool thing to be able to do. And, you get the attention with artwork, especially underwater. And once I have their attention, especially young minds, that's our next generation, right? And if we can make them love our ocean and then say, hey, if you love it so much, let's try to care for it too. And your actions speak much louder if your day-to-day lives could be changed and just a little bit can make a long way. It can go a long way and make a difference. And whatever we're using, whether using less plastic or just awareness, right? My motto on all my posts is I use the hashtag be ocean minded. So before you do something, think about our ocean, right? First. And that's something that I think I've tried to just carry through in all my work. And just grateful that I get a lot of opportunities to do that. Whenever I can, try to work with places like Gumbo Limbo, and anything from, providing them images, obviously direct stuff, to taking headshots of all their nonprofit, volunteers and employees because they need that, or whatever I can do to help out. And then getting sponsors. Toyota has helped me, do lots of things in the environmental world, directly with Gumbo Limbo. There's other things as well. So getting people like that involved is a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I used to talk about this theory all the time about how it's, really cool to be successful and, get a lot of money, and there's like a high you can experience from that. And I just think that compared to the satisfaction and the high you get from being out in the community and doing good and the enrichment that you feel from that, I think that dwarfs that whole empire feeling of personal accomplishment in my mind.
It does.
And I think that's what brings me back to it all the time, really.
Yeah. And you get the gratification, I think, of making a difference. Like it's one thing to make a living, but it's another thing to make a difference in people's lives or the future of our environment, to look back and like, look, I didn't just, try to make a career out of it, support my family, but I also, try to make a difference at the same time.
Yeah.
And, I think as just like you, it translates, into being respectful in your art community as well as being successful in business, right? Giving back goes a long ways. You get a lot of karma from it, I tell you.
Yeah,
you really
you
do.
I think there's certain, I mean, and I can probably not only just speak for the both of us, but I think most, and we'll just categorize this as marine artists for the moment. But other artists, other wildlife artists, probably say this for them as well. You feel a sense of responsibility when it comes to it all, right? And,
Totally.
Any waterman would feel the same way too. But I think marine artists in general just feel a very big sense of responsibility when it comes to it. That, for example, I mean, since we just were talking about it in the hot button topic, when I'm sitting there watching, the hurricane unfold, because it basically did happen for all of us who weren't in the middle of it in real time, you kind of climbing the walls, thinking like, this is cringing and saying, this is horrible, like, it's tough, and what's happening, what comes next, and you're hoping for the best, but maybe you're not hopeful at that point, but you just feel like there's something you got to do, and and just utilizing whatever power that God has given you or whatever to be able to do good, and then maybe that's the way, and to outlet that. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know, tough to articulate it, but there's this innate sense of responsibility inside of there.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
When was there a time that you really started connecting with the ocean? Is it like forever, or is it like, is there like a crucial moment that you ever had with it?
Since I was a kid, I grew up in Venice, right?
Okay.
About an hour north of where the hurricane just hit.
Oh, you did grow up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I grew up in Venice, and
Clyde Butcher's got a big gallery out there, right?
Clyde Butcher was a huge influence of mine as well. I grew up about a block from the beach.
Okay.
In Venice, Florida, on the island. And my parents would take me to the beach all the time.
Yeah.
My grandpa had a little Boston whaler. We'd go out in that. I'd go fishing. In the summers, I go to northern Michigan and spend time on a lake with my family there.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Michigan, actually, and moved down to west coast of Florida when I was 4.
Okay.
And so not true Floridian, but I've been here most of my life. And, collecting shark's teeth, skimboarding, all that in the ocean from the get-go.
The West Coast is so much different than the East Coast when it comes to things like that.
It is.
There's what we talked about it before. I went to Ringling, right? But I was born and raised over here on this side. And when I went there when I was 18 years old, and Nick's from Tampa, so he's over there nodding his head. So he's like, yeah, it's completely different, and it is just a different way of life over there. It's say more laid back, but some of it is tough for me to put my finger on it. But obviously the water is different with the Gulf and the way the coastline is, and and the way you're able to interact with it. There's in some ways you're limited as to what you can do over here, but in other ways there's more adventurous things closer at hand to do over here too, like more coral reef structures and different things like that. But there's something to be said for that West Coast lifestyle. Well, one thing I noticed, you bring up Michigan, when I moved there, is that in the East Coast, like particularly like Southeast Florida, seems like there's more of a Northeast influence of snowbirds, and
here,
on the West Coast, there's more of like a Midwest influence in Michigan and Ohio, and I didn't realize that till I moved there for college, and I was like, man, like I've never met so many people from Michigan. My roommate was from Michigan. He went to East Lansing for 2 years.
That's where I was born.
Yeah?
East Lansing.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, so I always thought that was an interesting thing. I was like, wonder why that is, though.
It's the pace.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the pace of the New Yorkers, New Jersey, they're faster paced around here. There's more going on, right?
Yep.
Over there, you have Midwesterns. They're a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
They're not so fast paced, One of the reasons I probably didn't go back over there was it's a little slower. Mm-hmm. The average age is a lot older.
That's the one part that I struggled with when I was in Sarasota and I was 18 years old. I'm like,
yeah,
it's you think, oh, okay, I'm going to college and there's going to be this college lifestyle, and it's just really wasn't that. There's a lot of older people, and when you drive into town, there's like in Sarasota, there's like welcome to Sarasota, and it says it in French Canadian too, like right below it. So I'm like, okay, where am I?
Oh, Ringling's a great school.
That's a good time. Yeah, I like Sarasota. You know what I mean? I like Siesta Key and Lido Key and all that. And yeah. It's a good time over there.
Yep. Grew up going over there all the time up there.
take me through a little bit in your head. We discussed a little bit about working too much because there's no roadmap for what we do, right? And, as much as there's, books about sales and books about, small businesses and, and we're like all the above, like all that combined into one, but then you yet still need to find time to be creative in your day, because you got to switch your brain, and then you just got to, and creativity takes time, right? And it takes focus, and you can, but it's better if you don't answer the phone and answer emails while in the middle of doing it all. And so take me through your philosophy on that.
Well, it's a constant problem solving, evolve of creating the business. I started out, I went to school for graphic design and photography. And
where'd you go to school?
At FAU.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I came over here to go to school at FAU because it was the closest school to the ocean. I wasn't really I wasn't stoked on going to college.
Yeah.
I was like, not a huge fan of school. But I was driven to, follow my passions, and I love to surf and be at the beach and so on. So I was like, well, if I'm going to go to school, I had a Bright Future scholarship, had to use it in Florida. And so FAU was the closest school to the ocean. So that was kind of 2 and 2 came together. And I slowly got more into photography through college, did a lot of freelance photography work in the action sports industry. Obviously started the things that I love to do, surfing and mountain biking and stuff like that, documenting those things. Always have been into nature since a kid. Never really thought that would be a career, right? Like, even for you, right? It's a lot of people are probably telling you, well, you're going to be a professional painter. There's a lot of naysayers, right?
Dude, so
it's hard.
The story for me goes, when I was 17, I was like working in galleries, and I was doing stuff with the IGFA, but I never saw, you know what I mean? I just thought that was fun, and I thought that was cool and everything like that. But when I went to Ringling and I got out, I took a job in the music business. I worked in the corporate world for 17 years. I had a good career, but then finally, I started realizing as I got older and started learning professional skills, and I started looking at the world a little bit differently. I'm like, no, we can do this. It can happen. And I finally took the leap 9-10 years ago. But but
wow,
it was because
so you started a little bit later on.
Yeah, so it was because of that. Well, I've never stopped painting fish. I always did it.
But I mean, quitting
professionally,
a job,
right,
to do it full time.
Yeah.
So what age did you quit and then?
I was 40.
Dive in. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So 39. Right. So and but when I worked at Alliance in the music
it's even
business,
harder to do.
Yeah, we worked with, I was doing stuff with Universal and Sony and all the major record labels. It was a very good job. We worked for $1 billion company, and we were traveling all over the country to do stuff and events and whatever. It was a great job. That's why I stayed there for 17 years. It was killer. I love that job. I really did. But
with health insurance.
Yeah. But it was ultimately, my wife was like, she sees me painting fish all the time. She's like, this is where your heart's at. This is what you got to do, and so we did. We had kids on the company benefits, and 3 months after my son was born, we were done having kids. I'm like, all right, we're out.
Yeah. I dove into it in a slow pace. I got a job right out of college as an art director in an ad agency, designing. But I took 1 year working there and learned how to do business on the business side.
Right.
As you know, as an artist.
That's the one thing in working in that job, that's the one thing I really, really learned.
So as an artist, there's a million amazing artists in this world. Probably more, right?
A lot.
But artists that are good business people are few and far between, right?
Yep.
Obviously. And so that's
the big challenge.
That was something that I just had to work hard at, right? Creating the artwork wasn't as hard. Creating the photos, it was people to buy those images, people to buy whatever I was creating. I was doing design artwork too at the same time. But, little by little, luckily I started when I was younger. So I quit my job after a year out of college and just did freelance work and just chugged away at it. In 2008, I was invited to shoot some sea turtle work because I had a housing. I was shooting surfing and so on. And I had put those images on my blog, and I was doing a lot of commercial artwork or photos at that point, and still doing some freelance design work too. And a bunch of people just said, hey, could I have a picture of that on my wall, and that just was like the light bulb went off.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Like print it out? Like you'll pay for it? And that's the moment you're like, okay, maybe I can try to do some of this. And I really enjoyed doing that, right? I found it fascinating to document that material, and it's not like it's photographing great whites. There's baby sea turtles. It's not too dangerous, It was just hard to find them, and I had to work with biologists and just be on top of it. And so just started the juggling from there. How can I, transition and make this a career and keep up? I currently still do commercial work as well, which a lot of people think I just chase baby sea turtles full time, 24 hours a day.
Right.
I don't. That's majority of what my work is sold as, but still do all types of commercial work, anything from campaigns for product shots to whatever. And a lot of it's involved in projects that I want to be involved in, the bike industry or surfing industry or something like that. Something that's worth my time and I love to do, and the price is right. But on the business side of things with the fine art, for me, it's a challenge to constantly try to evolve and figure out new ways how I can be a professional artist. Working with vendors or retailers that carry my work, and that, images that they think, would work well in that store. As far as, and also about 5 years ago, adopting to more, shooting more video as well. So I was licensing some images to starting to license the National Geographic Discovery Channel, and National Geographic ran my first image in 2012, and that kind of what launched my social media as well, because I was on social media and they tagged me there, and that really generated.
Yeah,
that one was you had a post on a feed like that, and you got 2,000 followers in 8 hours.
That's crazy.
That's when the growth was huge, right? And so anyway, fast forward, 5 or 6 years ago, I really started to integrate more video, because they were all asking for, well, that's a great still, but do you have a video of that in that same environment? And so I've adapted a lot more to doing video documentation, as well as in the commercial environment and in the fine art world. So we're also doing anything from, we shot a dentist green screen commercial in the studio to, the next day I go and, shoot a crab trying to eat a baby sea turtle.
Right.
And for me, it's a creative process in my head that is a problem solving. It's a challenge. Try to create that, and, go through all these hoops to get those. And I really enjoy that. Right. And a lot of people say, why don't you go one direction? Why don't you just shoot, what you baby sea turtles or nature or water or waves or whatever, fish. But I still enjoy the commercial side quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's working with professionals, and for me, it's an end product where I can create and help people in a lot of ways. But it's afforded me to also live a lifestyle where I don't have to work as much anymore. So my son was born in 2015. My daughter was born in 2018, and it made me realize that, I need to start slowing down a little bit and spend family time.
Yeah, that's very important.
My wife would probably say you probably should have done it before that. Why the kids have to come along and do that? But,
what about me?
Yeah, right. But
I think that was my biggest regret too, before having kids, is we travel, but I just don't think we traveled enough. Because once the kids come, it's tougher to take that vacation, especially with the age that yours are right now. It's tougher to lug them around everywhere, and it becomes more expensive. It's the expenses double and all that. So and it's easier just the two of you just to be like, oh yeah, let's just go. What I mean? Yeah. Bringing kids on it really writes a different story.
It is. I'm fortunate. My wife also works full time, so like I don't have to. I'm not the weight of the whole family budget, obviously, but. Yeah, so I started working less about 3 or 4 years ago, and really started changing things during COVID.
How so?
I mean, reality, my wife.
I'm always curious to hear this, how everyone responded to that, artist in particular.
So halt, 2020 March. My wife works for JM Family, which is
really?
Deerfield.
Yep.
Yeah, she runs environmental, their environmental health and wellness program and everything, and also is a lot involved with the footprint of what they do, right? She was still working full time. No more school for the kids. Instantly, I was full-time dad at home from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Halt the brakes. And the hard part for me was I still had a lot of projects going on.
Yeah.
Right. And so the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, that generally doesn't stop.
Yeah. The first 3 weeks were difficult. They were hard. I think we were both exhausted. The kids were just over it being home. They just weren't used to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was intense, right? We weren't sure about having our parents watch the kids because, we all didn't know what the heck was going on in the world. It was a tense time. And who do you believe about what it is or whatever, And so
did you hand wash your groceries for the first couple of weeks?
We did everything. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did.
Yeah. I mean, the Costco.
I'll be proud to say that I wiped down boxes of
the Costco order would come in.
And,
we would do a Costco order, right? Yeah. Come outside, and we'd have to.
The dude would drop it off right in front of your door. I'd be like, "All right, go in your car."
I can't get near it. Yeah. Costco order would come, wipe the whole thing down, and we would. And I remember my wife would be like, do we wipe this down or not? I'm like, I don't know. Just don't touch it.
Sorry.
You know? So we get rubber gloves out and grab the cereal box and everything, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's
I hear you.
That's history.
They made you think it was going to be Night of the Living Dead or what's the name of that show with the zombies that everyone likes?
Zombie Apocalypse? I don't know.
No.
Anyway.
What is it? Walking Dead. Yeah, they made you think it was going to be Walking Dead.
So, I just was thrown head deep like a lot of people watching our kids full time. At that point, my daughter was 2 and my son was 4, right? They're pretty much full-time deal. They don't take care of themselves. But
can't leave the room. Tough to leave the room.
Yeah. Especially my daughter. But you know what? After a couple weeks, I had a lot of clients that totally understood the situation. They were cool about it. A lot of projects I just pushed off, right? Said, I'll work on them at nighttime. And that's what would happen. My wife would get done with work. Then I would go to the studio and work till at night. Or I would get there at 4 a.m. and work till 8 or something. It was long days. Not to mention not getting in the water, but that's a lot of times that's my area of relaxation, riding my bike and going out in the ocean. Yeah. And I wasn't getting that, right? The beaches were closed for a while.
You couldn't travel because we talked about how you travel a lot for a lot of your photography.
Couldn't travel. I was still traveling during that part of my life quite a bit. And yeah, it was intense. And but you know what? After the first 3 weeks, after I started to understand what was going on and this is going to be here like this for a while, I just started to embrace it. Be like, you know what? We had to come up with activities with the kids. We bought those big old slide pool things from Costco and Target and water slides and put them in the front yard. And you just got to get creative. Go on adventures. Luckily we're outdoors people anyway, so we would take the dirt bikes down and go into areas that weren't really closed yet, public spaces and so on.
You know what sucked? So COVID happens and then all of a sudden biking industry explodes because everyone wants to go outside and just ride their bikes and everything like that. So we're riding their bikes and the first time out with my bike, I used to ride my bike all the time, right? I'm pedal down, boom, damn pedal shaft snaps. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. No one cares because they're not open or you can't go to the store, you can't buy a new one, right? You can't, I'll just buy a new bike. No bikes available, nothing like that. So I finally found one on offer up.
Bike industry got intense.
Yeah, they're leaving it outside. They're like, "Do you like it?" They're covering their face. I'm like, I love it. I'll take it.
So I kept riding my bike in the morning, but I wasn't sure about riding around other people right in the beginning. So I would ride my bike up the El Rio Canal Trail in Boca, which is not a lot of people know about it. And I go in the morning. I ride my bike in the dark in the morning anyway.
In Boca del Rio?
Yeah.
Off 18th and all that?
Yeah. That trail, that's a big path. No, it's a big path in Boca, just east of FAU.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Along El Rio Canal. So I'd ride that all the way and then go back south on A1A. But anyway, I did it because there weren't a lot of people on it and I didn't know about, being next to people. Like you said before, we didn't know what to do when it was COVID. But that was my way of just getting some steam off, especially with kids all of a sudden.
Yeah,
24/7.
that's the thing. It's you got to entertain them, and then they're driving you up a wall, and then there's
It was
your
intense.
mental capacity. Tough.
Yeah.
So you made it through.
So yeah,
right?
so then so the commercial work started to halt. We also do like conferences at the Boca Resort. I have a staff of photographers that sometimes do. We still do, because some of those clients I've had for over 15 years, and I keep them. And then like beginning of summer, I started to get the surge of people wanting artwork on their walls. Did you get this too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So same thing. Obviously, people were stuck at home and they're like, man, my freaking office sucks. And we had all these people coming to get artwork and ordering it from all over the country. And so I had to juggle that because I was still watching my kids. And then it started to get kind of busy right after that, because the commercial world that was dealing with the surge of COVID business started coming to me. So like businesses that couldn't sell in stores now had to have a full online inventory, but images of all their stuff. So we were shooting products just constantly in the studio.
Oh, wow.
We were shooting, I just remember we were shooting this machine that sprays hand sanitizer and then gives a wipe for grocery stores and supermarkets.
Right.
Product shots in the studio. And so there was an influx of things that were because of COVID, the businesses that did go up.
Necessity is the mother of all invention. That's the way you had to look at COVID, really, in my mind. Now, for us, we do so much custom, right? The custom apparel, the custom packages, the custom work for all the big boats. That was the one thing people wanted to do and were able to do. Like they tried to keep that from us, but they couldn't.
Yeah.
Right? The people basically rebelled with the boat ramps and getting everything up and running. But that was the one thing the boating industry absolutely exploded. We were fortunate for that, because the more boats that sell, the more custom apparel packages we get. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And we were just slammed with that, to be honest with you. And I mean, we moved out here during COVID. I opened up a retail store during COVID.
Because it was so crazy.
Yeah, because it was we had when we opened up first, we had this next door, which is the studio, and we split the whole thing in half. So it was retail up front and like working studio in the back. And now we got this gallery on this side, so we got the whole studio on the other side now, and this retail here. So I mean, it worked out.
So you're one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in necessity is the mother of all invention. We put all our eggs in that basket, and to the point you're talking about earlier about saying I still have my commercial clients and stuff like that. People always say to me, "Oh, how come you're still doing those shirts and you're not just painting all day? If I were you, I would just paint." People want to put themselves in your shoes all the time. But the bottom line is, I still enjoy it. I still love interacting with the custom customers. I still love talking about boats and talking about what they want, and you hear the stories. That's why we started the podcast in the first place, or how we started the podcast in the first place. It's because we were having such great conversations with like-minded people.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful thing. Like, do I love painting? Yeah, absolutely paramount to me. I love that more than anything else. But I also love doing all the custom work. Love interacting with the clients that are running the business. It gets stressful sometimes, but here we are.
Yeah.
And you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you.
Yep, it's true. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, for me, I love shooting, but I don't want to shoot 24/7. I need to step away from it, do other things, because that'll give me the inspiration, motivation to come up with the new ideas and so on. And so I'm just like
the variety of it.
You pull yourself away from it, and then you can come back with lots of vengeance.
100%. I mean, painting, honestly, if I had to just paint all day, every day, I mean, that might be tough. Just to do it nonstop, all day, every day, just painting. I mean, it's tough to paint all day straight through. It really is. The patience factor, and B, just the physicality of it. I mean, even if it's a big piece, you got to stand up all
physical.
day.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do. And then there's the mental wear down of it all, because sometimes it's like you go down and you talk about rabbit holes. Rabbit hole in your head during a painting, that's for sure.
You're your own worst enemy, critic.
Yeah.
Right?
So I want to talk a little bit. You brought up something earlier too about, you said working with biologists. So with some of your projects that you do in the water, I mean, take me through some of that. Like, take me through like a few of your adventures or some of your daily paths and all that stuff. And then I want to bring up too the the South Beach swell because I thought that was really cool. You got some really killer shots on that.
Thanks. Yeah. So I work in industry with sea turtles. They're sensitive creatures. They're protected.
Yeah, I want to hear all
so
about
on.
like your idiosyncrasies with that stuff.
Yeah. So
Because I'm fascinated by that.
you have to tread lightly, right? With my subject. And a lot of people follow me. They follow me closely, the images I shoot, and so I'm underneath the microscope. So I need to obviously follow the right path of how I do the things I do.
Biologist watching you while you're shooting to make sure you behave properly.
FWC watches me.
Really?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm out shooting.
So you have permission to be out in the water, basically.
Correct.
Like, you have like authority to be
And
there.
I
Like
wanted
not just anyone can just jump in the water with sea turtles.
Sometimes, yeah. I wanted to be like that. I literally went to the biologist and so on, and when I started to do it, I was like, well, am I doing it the right way? What are the laws behind this? This was back in 2009, probably, when I realized, like, oh, I'm going to probably be doing this a bunch. I just want to make sure I'm following the right procedures, right? Because it's a protected species. I suddenly had a lot of people following me, and I was documenting the whole process. And I want to make sure, because people will, they'll do whatever you're doing, and there's also a lot of people that are not doing the right thing. And so...
sure, more than not.
Yeah, exactly. And so so the easiest way to do it for me was to so I'm physically permitted with the organizations that I work with by FWC. So I'm on the permit. So let's say with Gumbo Limbo, I'm on Gumbo Limbo's permit to document sea turtles.
Okay.
The hatchling sea turtles. So they have a permit number. And actually on all my Instagram posts or any Facebook posts, there's usually a permit number in the post that'll say where that turtle was. So FWC understands that's where that shot was taken and it was with this person and so on. So I kind of have tried to make it a textbook way of documenting what I do so that there's a complete history line of how that image was taken and so on. Because there's been a lot of people disturbing nests to try to get photos and so on, which is sad.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's horrible.
It is. And there's the other obvious reason is going with biologists provides me a lot of opportunities, right? And so originally I was going with biologists because I was helping them get images they weren't been able to get before to show what they do, right? So they needed images of sea turtles out in the water or good examples of what they do and to bring about awareness to their organization and so on. And so that was obviously the direct way of doing it was like, hey, if I'm on your permit, I can help you do that and so on. And so throughout the last 10 years, I've really just mainly stuck with 3 or 4 organizations that I document day in and day out during the summer. And so right now is kind of the end of hatchling season. So sea turtles in South Florida, they start laying eggs in March, and not a lot at that point. Usually leatherbacks start first and goes all the way essentially through November. Will be the last ones emerging, the last nests. And it goes through the different species. There's leatherbacks, and then there'll be loggerheads to start in greens, and then intermixes. But right around end of July is the peak of all the eggs coming up and emerging, the nests hatching. And so that's when I'm busiest. I'm out there pretty much every day that the ocean is calm. So when we get offshore winds and it's calm and it's clear and I have the opportunity to get in the water, I will hike down the beach, usually with about 50 pounds of gear. So I have dry camera gear on one backpack on my back, and then I have wet camera gear with my housing on my front. So like for those watching on this, you can see I brought my housing. This is one of the housings that I use with my camera system. And therefore, I'm ready to go in case we see
nice.
anything.
You mind?
Yeah, no, go for it. Yeah, this doesn't have a camera in it, so that's just the housing.
Yeah.
That's an Aquatech housing that they gracefully provide me with.
I mean, it's heavy.
That's heavy with no camera.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But don't forget, that's that's out of the water. When
Right,
it's in the water,
it's
it's neutral buoyancy, it floats, and it's a lot easier to deal with.
Nice.
But yeah, so I gotta be ready to go. And there's a lot of days we don't see anything. What they do is with a lot of organizations that monitor nests, they mark the nests. You'll see the markings pretty much all over the coast of the in the eastern United States, as well as the Gulf Coast, with either flags or stakes. And you can also see the species of the turtle too. It'll identify it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the nest emerges, they dig up the nest usually about 3 days afterwards. And some organizations, depending if they're close by, like Gumbo Limbo or Loggerhead Marine Life Center, or down in the Keys at the Marathon Turtle Hospital, they'll bring some of those hatchlings in to be released either at nighttime or early the next morning, so they have a reduced risk of predation.
Right.
Obviously, sea turtle hatchlings during the daytime, fish can see them much easier. Birds can see them.
I mean, the numbers of survival numbers aren't that good, are they?
They're not that great, but they haven't been great for a long time.
Right.
Right. Human impact has made that less, but yeah, it's 1,000 to 10,000. 1 in 1,000, 10,000 will survive to adulthood, to sexual maturity, which is 25 years. So it takes them 25 years before they can essentially, around about different species translate, to different times, but before they can go and lay eggs again. But that's the biggest problem right now is most of the turtles being hatched are all girls. Because the temperature of the nest dictates the sex. So right now, hot chicks.
The temperature
cool
of the
dudes.
nest dictates the sex of a sea turtle? I never knew that.
And so since our planet's kind of warming up and the sand's hotter, and it's only a degree or two, right? Not very much. Tiny amounts. Most of the nests here are females coming out of the nest. Like 99%.
Right.
A lot. So just think about it. 25 years, there are only going to be females out there.
Wow.
That's
so
not a
if
good
you're like
thing.
the one, well, unless you're the one male turtle, I mean,
dude, you're the Mac Daddy, right?
It's like, what's
no
up?
problems, right? Yeah, right. But yeah, that's going to be, that's one problem, right? The biggest threat to sea turtles is bycatch. So longline fishermen, and they get caught in nets, mostly in developing countries, right? Where they just don't have the resources. I apologize, I forget the name of the system where they integrate. They have this contraption where it lets sea turtles go out of the nets. I forget what it's called, but they're introducing that to communities around the world, fishermen, that the turtles will go caught in the net and then they can swim out.
Okay.
And that has greatly changed the survival rate probably of longline fishermen. That helps the problem. Obviously, another problem is most hatchlings right now are found with plastic in their bellies.
Right.
99% of hatchlings that are 3 to 3 months old.
That's why our do-gooders are so important.
Right? 3 weeks to 3 months old have their stomachs full of plastic. If any of us fishermen are out, looking for weed lines, if you look at the weed line closely, there's plastic throughout the whole thing, right? And so hatchling turtles go out into the Gulf Stream. That's their nursery. And so they're feeding on the little teeny tiny shrimp, the baby sargassum fish, all those little, things that the fish are there for as well. And they look just like pieces of plastic. So, yeah, the turtles are, something I've learned a lot about being a photographer.
Yeah,
most people think I'm a complete, biologist and expert on turtles, but it's really just being around, all these biologists that I've been
and
educated.
that's part of the responsibility and part of the steward of doing it. And I was going to say that you got to be picking up a wealth of information, hanging out with a lot of the biologists and just Gumbo Limbo and the organizations that you work with. I'm sure it's just like without even trying. I'm sure you're getting this information. And what you're bringing to the show today is really incredible stuff too, and I'm highly fascinated by it because from our perspective, I mean, you know this, and turtles are very popular. right? And people love them. And from our aspect, we sell them all the time. It's probably our number one thing that, especially the female clientele, asks for. They're like, oh, I want to see turtle. I want to see the even more than like mermaids or anything like that. They love their sea turtles, and rightfully so, right? And there's we always say what like the Hanu spirit and all that behind it. So
they come out of the woodwork. I tell you, the turtle freaks. I have met some interesting people.
Yeah, exactly.
I have met some, and they have driven from where all the way down to my studio just to meet me or get a picture of a turtle. And I'm like, whoa. And they have turtle tattoos and turtle car. And
anytime I draw a turtle, it's party time.
Yeah.
Like really, it's crazy how it is. I'm like, that's really all you needed?
Yeah.
But no, that's cool though. But what I was going to say, I'm fascinated to hear all these facts about it, because as much as people just say they love turtles, oh, they're so cute and they're so adorable. It's like, well, I love hearing educational aspects of it too, because about preserving them. Like you mentioned the whole thing about the survival rate. That's horrible. Like you go through all that to survive that, and the odds of becoming a mature turtle, and then all of a sudden like a piece of plastic takes you out like years later.
Yeah, right.
Pretty shitty.
It is pretty shitty. Yeah.
It's a damn shame. It's not like, and not to compare one species over the other, put an importance factor on it, but if you look like a mahi that replicate so often and so many of them, it's not like, a sea turtle, which is more rare.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And, difference too is a mahi can digest things. That's the problem with sea turtles. Can digest and intake maybe a piece of plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And those baby turtles, their digestive tract is so narrow that the plastic gets stuck in their intestines.
Right.
And then it clogs their stomach, and then they survive. Then they pretty much starve.
That's horrible.
So that's what happens. So, yeah, no, it's fascinating to me to learn about it as well. I'm lucky that I get to learn about it. I get to be in all kinds of interesting situations. We've helped film TV shows, and you name it. I've started to really be involved in so many different things. So it's cool to be on the front line in a lot of that and be involved. So
nice.
Yeah, it's an interesting world, the turtle world.
Do you have a signature big moment you can point to so far?
I can tell you about some recent stuff this year. This year I have witnessed more predation than previous, I think. So I had one maybe late July. I'm up in northern Palm Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, right early in the morning, right at sunrise, oceans, lake calm. That's when the fish are out, right? It's the best time to go fishing along the shoreline here.
Right.
We have great fishing. And
the light's probably so good for you too.
The light's good. That's why I go out. It's good. Obviously, that's the only time I'll witness a turtle coming out. Obviously in the nest too, but we had I think it was like a nest come out, a whole emergence. It was like 10 turtle or something like that. And I went out. I usually go out with the first turtle I see, the first opportunity I get, I jump on it, because who knows what's going to happen after that. Get out there and I get my housing ready, and it's still a little darkish, and the sun's just on the horizon, so the water is still not very light. And I don't usually film the turtle when it's that dark, when it's coming right through the shoreline. And I'm sitting there with my mask on and my snorkel and waiting.
I don't like being in the water right around that time.
Waiting to see.
Just so you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. We all have these,
The sunrise, sunset, it's like the high predation time.
Yeah. And this was Singer Island, which is, there's lots of men in gray suits up there.
Yep.
So I'm sitting there watching, and I am not recording, regretfully, and a jack comes up. He was like 2.5 feet. I don't know it was massive, right? And he just comes by, and he comes by me the first time, right? And he's waiting. Obviously, I don't know. It's crazy. He's waiting. He's circling me, almost like knowing I'm waiting for something. Mm-hmm. And I immediately was like, "Oh, where's that turtle? That thing?" He's looking for it, because I've never witnessed it, but I've heard of it happen before. And sure enough, I see the turtle come through, and it's kind of like cloudy, and it's right in the shore break, so there's sand getting churned up, and I see the thing come, and bam, the jet comes out of nowhere and just scoops him right up in front of my eyes.
Wow.
And the first time I saw it, I wasn't really sure it was a jack, to be honest, because I just saw it at the corner of my eye and it was just gray.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of sharks at sunrise up there. They're not very big, but they're spinners and little black tips messing around, and sharks make mistakes, right? And most likely it'd be great for me to document whatever nature's doing. And if a shark's doing whatever it's doing, that's great. But I just don't want it to get me.
Do it to you,
right?
yeah.
Or make a mistake.
Right.
Obviously, it's sad that the turtle has to deal with that, but that is what the turtles have been dealing with for millions of years.
It's nature.
Right. That is nature. And that is something that a lot of people have a hard time when they look at my work, is I will film a turtle upside down on the shoreline struggling to flip back up. And they're like, why don't you flip the turtle over? I'm like, that turtle, and for one, I don't touch the turtles. Yeah. Right. And that's another thing. You shouldn't touch baby sea turtles. Let them be. It's actually against the law to touch them unless you have a permit and so on. But for me, I just document nature. Right. Obviously, when there's a whole thing of hatchlings and there's seagulls coming down, I'm going to throw a rock at a seagull, try to keep them. A seagull doesn't need any more food. Right. We have too many seagulls. Right. So I will interfere a little bit in some ways. But in that instance, I couldn't even interfere because I didn't know what was going to happen. But that was a crazy moment that I saw. So another moment, maybe a month before that, I was probably in about 10 feet of water swimming out. I'm usually swimming next to the turtle, and the turtle's swimming out to the Gulf Stream straight east as fast as they can. They swim very fast. They're tiny. It's very hard for me to see and get focus on the turtles. So I'll shoot. I'll sometimes...
You have to get close with this.
Very close.
Yeah. Because it's not no telephoto going on here.
Correct. And also because of clarity of the water, you got to be real close to get the image clear. And so those turtles are just moving around right at the surface of the water. So when you have a mask on, it's very hard to see your viewfinder.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard process to get, but I'll shoot 2,000 images in 10 minutes. Not even.
Really?
Because I don't know what's going to be in focus.
So you're just bracketing the whole time.
Correct. Just shooting away. And I'll switch between video and still constantly too. And so there was a moment, big old pinfish came by and came out of nowhere, got him in his mouth.
Pinfish?
Yes. A beast too. He was like,
really?
He was 2 feet long.
Come on.
Big pinfish.
Pinfish? Yeah. Wow.
I don't know what he was going to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't think he can swallow a turtle, right? I mean, their neck is not that big.
Yeah, no,
it's like a snake trying to eat a deer, right, or something. And
I've
instantly,
seen that happen. No, I'm just kidding.
Instantly, I just go like this. I swipe a bunch of water, and he drops it right there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, cool. I saved one at least, right?
There you go.
And that was a kind of a cool moment. Couple years ago, I was shooting a turtle super early in the morning and never saw it until I got back to the studio, going through the images. Big old shark right below me, right there. Never saw it coming. He was
How
in
deep
like
are you?
6-7 feet of water.
So you're close to him.
Real close. Fisheye lens, and he was right there. Never saw him because I was so focused on the turtle.
Wow.
Otherwise I'll lose them too. If my eyes aren't on that thing constantly, I'll lose them in the surface. It's crazy. You lose them in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So hard to see, especially it's early in the morning. But yeah, there's been a couple predation moments like that. I've only had one shark moment. I've had a couple where right before I get in the water, there's a shark right there. But usually sharks, I can't get near them.
Yeah.
Sharks want nothing to do with you.
I always find it so interesting to just meet fellow artists, especially ones I greatly respect like you, and just getting a little bit inside of your process. And it's always a fascinating thing to me. So I really appreciate you sharing all that. And it's been a pleasure sitting with you today and just going through all that with you and getting to know you. I always say that, this is the first time, just for record, this is the first time we're ever meeting. Right? And it's
right.
Meeting people on the show for the first time. I absolutely love it. Right. And
it's cool.
Please don't be a stranger.
Right. You too.
Yeah. So, and this has been really, really great getting together with you. Is there anything you want to share? Any current events or any major things you have coming up happening?
Not really. There's lots of stuff going on. I'm doing a hurricane thing too as well, actually.
Yeah.
You were just on in the Atlantic Current magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and Dustin, who runs that magazine, who I thought was crazy 10 years ago, he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to start a magazine." I was like, "You're crazy. Print magazine right now?" But anyway, he's done very well for himself, and I've helped him over the years. And anyway, we're going to kind of team up together and bring supplies over to the West Coast. And so tomorrow I'm going to launch, I think I have 10 images that will be prints that we'll donate the proceeds to. And I think we're physically going to buy the supplies and take them over there.
Okay.
And there's a couple sponsors that we're probably going to announce that will provide supplies and so on. And we'll document some of it and what we do.
Nice.
Because Dustin is actually from Fort Myers. His dad has a house
he is.
there.
Okay.
Yep. His dad lucked out, actually never lost power, which is
good
probably the 2%. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Very small percentage of people didn't lose power over there, especially in the Fort Myers area. So that'll be announced tomorrow, and then probably will go for a week or two. A lot of stuff's going on.
Okay.
Like I said before, though, I'm always constantly, trying to think of new ways as an artist.
That's the thing.
Really cool thing that's happening is on Disney Plus. My episode with National Geographic, there's a new episode called National Parks.
Mm-hmm.
It just came out August 31st, and the first 5 episodes came out, and the second 5 episodes I have a whole 3-minute episode on Biscayne Bay.
Oh, very cool.
And it's a battle between a turtle and a crab that I filmed. And
really?
That's pretty much the largest scene that I've had on worldwide television.
Oh, that's cool. When does that come out again?
We don't. I would love to know.
You don't know yet.
They won't tell me. There's obviously a date, but the first 5 came out August 31st, and it'll be the next 5 episodes of National Geographic on the Disney Plus.
All right. Well,
channel.
when that comes up, you'll be sharing it, and then we'll be sharing it off of you. So
that's a really cool thing that happened recently. That it's a full length series that I've only had grips, 5 seconds, 10 seconds here, but this is a whole series of scenes that I shot. We did a lot on the same with the mullet run as well. So there's some scenes of the mullet run in that, and it's all about Biscayne Bay. It's about national parks that are not as in the limelight, like Biscayne Bay National Park.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't even know we have a national park down there, and that's what the series is about. And part of it's about the mullet run, actually. But it's happening right now, right on our beaches.
Yep, happening right now.
Yeah.
And the hurricane disrupted it a little bit, but it seemed to be getting a little bit back to normal now. And
hopefully. I've been chasing that every day almost this week.
Really?
Yep. So I have lots of lifeguards and people telling me if it's there, or here, or there. And every time somebody tells me the last couple of days, I have been not able to go.
Right.
So it was just here this weekend.
Yeah.
Right in Pompano. Probably you guys know.
Yep.
I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nice. Yeah. All right. Listen, if you want to find out more about Ben Hicks, go over to Instagram first and foremost, Ben J Hicks at Ben J Hicks, and it's benjhicks.com as well as your website. If you want to purchase any prints, support your local artists. If you're locally watching here, support your nationally recognized and Emmy award-winning cinematographer artist, Ben Hicks. Listen.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
We're making it all happen, right?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And then you said you marinated your steak in the W sauce? Yeah, good stuff, huh? Nice. America's Worcestershire, right? So this weekend, I'm going to get to this. I'm going to start putting all my meat into this thing. So that's nice. That actually came out wrong. And the vegan shire and all that, right? That one was for Brad.
I heard it right. He's going to put his meat in meat sauce.
What's that? I'm not going to put my meat in the fire shower. Don't worry about it. It's all good. America's Worcestershire, W sauce. Bear and Burton's W sauce. I gotta call Brad right after the show and tell him what just went down. So cool. Right on. Listen, if you're in the market for a new truck or vehicle, head on over to Joey Cardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Tell him I sent you. Go check out the new Wagoneer. Listen, if anyone's been watching this show, they know all about Joey Cardi. How could you not? Right? So, price selection service. Go over there and check them out. All right? And then I I cannot say enough about the Papa's Pilar rum and the Papa's Pilar rum family. And more importantly, right? Not only is the rum good, but the people are great. And we're so happy that they are 100% behind our shirt drive. And with that 10% of the total donation match that they're going to be doing, and we're pretty stoked on that. So we're going to try to get to our goal of, I'd love to write a check for $50,000, which would turn out to be a check for $55,000 plus that 10% if we make it there. But I'm pretty confident that we will support Captains for Clean Water and all that they're doing. And if you're hungry in the neighborhood of Lighthouse Point, go over and check out Papa's Raw Bar. Order something off the Connected by Water Inspired Sushi menu. And that's it. Ben, you want to sign off? Any more pleasantries for our fans out in...
That's it. Get salty, you know?
That's
what
it.
I'd say.
Get salty.
Whatever you got to do. Go to boat, go for a swim.
Love it.
Get out there.
Nice. Get out there. All right. Your ego is not your amigo. Always do your best. And at the end of the day, just let God do the rest. And do not ever forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're all connected by water.
Cheers.
Thanks, Ben.
You're welcome.